Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we come to the laser, we see that the laser is off, in the off position, and then to turn it on, you're going to come up here on the software interface and say active, I got it right.
We have a pointer where I make it simple.
And say activate the engraver.
And I go right here and push it one time.
And then we should see like the lights come on over here and some sounds. It's starting to calibrate itself, align itself, and it will take several seconds for it to come up. Okay, now we're ready. It says that the door is open, so we know that we're able to see the laser pointer on our material when we put our material in. And you should always have the material completely uncovered. So take the protective coating off of your material and make sure your material is nice and flat. If the material is nice and not flat, it's not going to be cut all the way through with the laser. Now you can engrave stuff that's not completely flat, but you can't cut things that aren't completely flat. Okay, so now that we've powered on the machine, let's go over to Corel Draw. So let's go to the Start menu. So let's click on the Windows button down here, and let's go to Corel Draw X5. You probably can click on this twice. There we go.
Oh, so double click on Corel Draw.
Double click on Corel Draw.
Oh, it came up.
Oh, we're almost into Corel Draw. Ah, here we are.
Here we go.
Here we are. So now we can say, here are the files that we've recently been working on. So you can just jump right into those if you want to. But we want to do something new. So let's say we want a new blank document. So
double click.
So you should just single click on new blank document. This is what we want to see here. RGB, red, green, blue. We want it to, it should always come up like this, but if this says like CMYK, it's definitely not the right color scheme for the laser. So the laser template page must be in RGB. And we see that that's the way we're set. So now we can just give the file a name, and then we are ready to get started.
You should always name the file before starting.
Yes. Yes. In case the power goes out, you can have something, something of your work saved still.
I'll just put BHS. How's that?
Well, we probably have some more name than that. So let's say BHS.
What are we making?
BHS test.
A test. Oh, very good.
Okay, and we see that the width is 24 inches, and we see that the height is 12 inches, because that is the maximum area of this of this cutting table. So make sure that your material is definitely smaller than 24, maybe by a half an inch, and make sure that the height is about 11.5 inches, because if you try to put something in that's this big, it actually won't fit on the cutting table. So this is the size of the paper that we're going to see in Corel Draw, and that corresponds to this laser. The other laser has a different size. It's the other laser is 12 by 16. This one is 12 by 24. So 12 inches high by 24 inches long. So 1 foot high by 2 feet wide. Okay. So now that we have double checked these values, 1, 2, 24, and 12, and then RGB, we've checked those values and given it a name. Now we're ready to say okay and start with our project.
Single click.
Okay. So you'll notice that this rectangle looks a lot like the rectangular area in the laser, and it's set up the same way. Okay. So we're ready to start putting in, let's make a rectangle, and we can do a rectangular cut and then an engraving on it. So let's click the rectangle tool. Okay, so now you're able to draw a rectangle. So let's just freehand draw a rectangle. Just draw a rectangle of whatever size that you like. Just like there. Okay. So this rectangle represents what we're going to cut out of our shape. We're going to give this a dimension up here of 2 inches by 2 inches, just to make it a small cut. So let's blank that out, and we'll say 2 inches. So 2.
Point.
And then down. You don't need to put the decimal point, but
okay.
Down here we'll also put the number 2.
2.
And let's say enter on the keyboard.
Enter. On the keyboard.
So we have a nice square now. Let's put some fillets on the edge of our square. So since the square is selected still, we just need to type in the fillet here.
I'll type it in here.
And let's go with the 1/4 inch radius, 0.25.
0.25.
And just hit enter.
Enter.
Oh, that's going in. Maybe let's change it to going out. So, wait, here, click this one right here.
I did the wrong one.
Click there.
It's a
There.
round corner.
So now we have rounded corners, so it's not sharp. That looks good.
Okay.
Okay. And so the last thing we're going to do, because we made our square, so that's going to be our profile cut. Let's come over here to the pin area.
And here.
Click there. And then the width is hairline. Use the drop-down menu to select hairline.
I see it.
And the color, we want to say other.
Always?
Yes, to make sure that this is happening. We want to make sure right here we see RGB, and when we click here on red, click there, we see 255, 0, and 0. Many reds look very similar to this, but this is the only red with the hairline width that will cut. So we want to make sure this is going on here. If you use the black color, so click over here, we should see 0, 0, 0. And if we're using the vector function, click here,
blue,
we're going to see 0, 0, 255. So if you're not using pure tones in the RGB profile, the laser will not respond correctly when you're cutting. So make sure that you always have these values correct for whatever color you're using. In this case, let's make sure it's red. 255, 0, 0, and we're ready to go. Okay? Okay. I don't know why it's... Click on the body of this again. Click. And so let's change the color again. For some reason the color didn't stay, so we'll say red. And we'll say hairline. And apply. Very good. So we see that this has changed.
Oh, we forgot to use apply last time. Okay,
yes, that must have been the step we
skipped.
We missed. So now I want you to use the mouse wheel to zoom in. So roll the wheel in and keep the mouse cursor right in the center when you do that. So roll it now. No, don't click it. Roll it. Roll it the other way. There we go. Okay, a little bit more. Perfect.
Zooms it.
Okay, it zooms in now by rolling the mouse wheel. Now we're going to put a little hole for a key ring. Okay, so let's click on the circle tool and, well, let's click over here and we'll move it into place. So click over here and just freehand draw a circle. That's good. Okay, and let's change these values to 0.25 and 0.25. So 0.25 width and 0.25 height. So we have a circle that is 0.25 diameter. Enter. Okay. Now, while we have it highlighted, let's go ahead and change the width and the color to hairline red for us to cut the hole for the key ring to go in. Red. Okay, and apply. All right. Now, using the pick tool, which looks like the mouse cursor, click on the pick tool, and now hover over here until you see a cross. Yes, once you see the cross, you can drag it. So you want to see this little cross, and once you see that cross, you can start dragging the piece. So move it over a little bit.
Drag. Click and drag.
And then move over a little bit more. Move over a little bit more to the right, Jim. Right, no.
Oh, I did wrong.
Oh, yeah, escape. That's all right. So wait till you see the cross. So move it. Yes. Now click and hold.
Oh, there.
Click and hold.
Carry it over.
Now slide it over here into the top corner. A little bit lower. Okay, that looks good. That's close enough. So now, if you want to move it, around, we can use the arrow keys, and it goes beep, 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 and it moves ever so slightly up and down.
That's cool.
Okay, so why don't you try that out and make sure it's nice and centered wherever you like it. Not too close to the edges because the acrylic's thin. We want to give it some meat on the edges so that the key ring doesn't snap our corner of our acrylic off. That looks pretty good. Okay, so now we're ready for the text or the image. So let's go ahead and choose the text tool, which is right here. Click.
The A.
The A right here. And let's write something in black. So we're going to use black because black is the engraving color, and we want to make sure it's a true black of 000. Okay?
Remember how to do that?
So you can say whatever you like.
And just how about Fab Lab or something?
Okay, that looks good. And we don't worry about the size of it right now because if we hover over one of these corners, we can see the diagonal drag and start dragging that bigger.
Oh.
It will drag with constrained proportions so that it doesn't look too stretched. It will maintain its integrity as you scale it down or scale it back up. So now we can place it in the area that we want. Okay.
Do I touch in the center?
Yeah, wait until you see the cross. Yes, now click when you see the cross. Now drag it up. And then since we could probably make it a little bigger, let's get near one of these corners and so we see the diagonals, and now like pull it down. And we've sized it just right, so stop right there. And now use your arrow keys to center it. So look at your margins now. And let's say escape. Let's use the pick tool so we can center it. Again, yes, and now you can move it around a little bit.
There. Perfect.
Okay.
Oh. Let's go right there.
That looks good.
Okay, that's looking good. Okay, so now if this is what we want, we're going to get a keychain that's 2 inches by 2 inches with nice round corners so they don't poke us in our pocket, and a key ring hole that's 1/4 of an inch diameter with the text Fab Lab engraved on it.
Okay.
Okay, is that a good
Looks
product?
great.
We're ready to go. We just need to set the machine up for our cut.
So I don't, nothing else I do here. Do I enter anything? Or just...
The last thing we do before we're ready to do our cut is we can use this little disc, or we can say File, Save. So you could say File, Save.
Save.
And then we've already given it a name, so we just say Save. So click Save over here, and we're ready to go. The next thing we do is we click Print, the little printer button. We see that the laser VLS, Laser System 3.5, 50-watt laser is selected, and we click Print. And now we can go to the laser control panel, which is this red icon here. So click on that. And we see our new item appears over here, ready for cutting. So now the rest of the video is going to be how you set up the laser for a clean cut. Okay. So now that we have our design in the control panel software, we're ready to take a look at this. The laser sees that we've made a red line that it knows is a cut line around the perimeter, and also our little keyhole, we see it here. If we see something like a black line here, then we'll know we didn't use a true red. So it will tell us right away. And also, if you scroll in a little bit on here, so roll the wheel in. Okay. And also, if you see like there is a checkerboard or a plaid pattern in Fab Lab, you'll know that you haven't used a true black. It's just an abbreviation of a black. So this looks really good. And now we're going to position the material for our cut. So we're going to click on this icon here, and this is called the focus view. Click. And so now wherever we click, let's click at the top left corner, and we'll see that that is the top left corner of where the laser is. So I'm going to move our material. Since our material is nice and small, I'm going to move it in that vicinity, right there.
I like the tape you're using, David, to keep it flat.
Yeah.
So that seems to help.
So when the fan goes on, it's going to shake the machine and cause a vibration. If we don't put this tape in, the piece can actually float around on the table, and then we'll have two edges of a line that come around that don't quite meet up. So taping it down keeps the acrylic from moving. You can use a small weight as long as the weight is very low profile, so you don't hit this. If I open up the protective shield, I'll see that we're using a 2-inch lens. It's very important that the height from the top of the plastic to the bottom of this 2-inch lens red plate be exactly 2 inches. So use the special height tool to measure that 2 inches. It is from the top of the material, not the top of the table. Okay, so now that I've adjusted this already using the up and down arrows here on the machine to raise and lower the table, the machine now is in position for us to check all 4 corners of our cut pattern. So let's look over here, and we're going to go click, 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 and we're going to check the laser indicator to see if it's on the material. So click, that's the top right hand corner, and we see that that's on the material. Now click, okay, that's the bottom right corner, good. Now the left side, very good. Now everything is inside the corners that we specified, so we know we're centered. And so now we're ready to enter the materials, and so we're going to click on this little magnifying glass.
And David, I just want to say too, I like how you did that because you didn't have any waste. You located that at the very left corner, not the middle of that piece of acrylic. So it's nice to see you do that.
Yeah, so we don't want to be wasteful. We can get a couple more cuts out of this piece.
Makes sense.
So let's go to settings, and now we have plastic. Okay, now we have acrylic. So let's select acrylic. Well, I guess we would do a deep engraving. So let's say deep engraving. Okay, and then the materials thickness. Let's enter the materials thickness here. And then let's put 0.15, and then the materials thickness, let's enter the materials thickness here, and then let's put 0.150. Okay.
And that's thicker. We actually used a micrometer, got 115.
Oh, did we get 115?
So do you want to match the micrometer thickness?
0.115. Yes.
So we match the thickness of the material.
We match the thickness of the material. So that's the thickness of the material. We've set it up for our 2 inches, and now we must click OK. If we do not click OK, then we're not going to get a good. It's not going to remember the value that we put in here.
Okay, before we do that, should we look at the vector performance or not?
No, that's.
Doesn't matter. Throughput.
It's normally in the middle, but since this is a deep engraving, we'll just leave it up there. So now we'll say OK. And so now we're ready to close the door, turn on the collection system, and never operate the laser without turning on the vapor collection system. The fumes are very toxic, and you don't want them to be anywhere around you. So make sure that this is on before we start our cut.
Always close the door.
And always close the door.
I hear it running now. So now we're ready to go and make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
So we come up here to the green button, right?
Mm-hmm.
And push.
When we see the arc flashing underneath it, that's how we know the laser is adjusted properly to go through the material, and it's arcing off of the aluminum honeycomb table. This looks like a nice cut.
We also were very careful with that micrometer setting. We read 115, we set it for 115.
Okay, let's take a look at this. Comes right out. Look at that. All right, what a great cut we have. All we have to do is punch out the top, and we got a great little keychain.